I'm Kelley Bruce. I'm the founder and creator of Canna. We're a nonprofit and also a full sun cultivation company based in Humboldt County, California.
And what is your current role in the industry?
So I'm the CEO and founder of our cultivation company, and then I'm also a huge advocate. So I work very much so to help mothers and families navigate using cannabis throughout all stages, particularly in pregnancy, postpartum, labor, and beyond.
So let's talk about advocacy for a minute. In my opinion, that's where everybody coming into the game should start.
Yeah.
It takes nothing to become an advocate, no qualification, just
Right.
effort. How did you get your start advocating for cannabis, and what has that been like? And then kind of wrap it up with maybe something you would recommend that people coming into the advocacy realm take action on.
Okay. So, my experience with cannabis started when I was like in 6th grade. I think my friend stole some from his like brother in high school, and we literally like tin canned it like outside in the garage, right? And I was an athlete growing up, so my experience was more like at parties I would smoke instead of drink because I needed to be responsible and go to practice, but I was not like a pothead. I was still like very paranoid that I would get in trouble with coaches or get kicked off or get drug tested. So it wasn't until like I got to college and was in Vermont where I really was exposed to like cannabis, and still, it was just very recreational, very like random. Like if my homie had it, I didn't like grow it or buy it or anything. And then fast forward, right? And I'm in Colorado, and I am a mother now, and I'm teaching, and I got hit by a drunk driver, and I needed this like cocktail prescription. So it was like Percocet, Ambien, and crap, I forget the name of it. It starts with an S, but it's like a muscle relaxer, Sonoma or something like that. And because I had herniated discs in my neck and my lower back from the car crash, and I needed to finish the season because it was New Year's Eve when I got hit. And so they gave me these pills, and they worked, and then they like didn't work, so I needed more pills. And then I was noticing like, oh my God, I need my pills. And then I was noticing too, like I would have out of body experiences at night from the Ambien. And so I was in Colorado, it was like 2010, and they had just, had like a really robust medical program. So I went and got my medical card, and I started going into the dispensaries and learning like, hey, you can use like the THC oil and infuse it into like coconut oil and then like rub it here, and it like will help. And so I'm just like making the noises like how they talk to me, but so I started to learn that like you don't just smoke and get high. You can actually microdose and be very mindful and purposeful in how you're using it to help alleviate a lot of symptoms. So I was able to like use cannabis to replace not just those 3 pharmaceuticals, but then I started like going deeper, and I was able to use it to replace like my ADD medication. I was able to move off like my depression medication, and I was feeling better, and I was more present as a parent too. So I started to share that experience with my community, which was really small at the time. And I was like teaching kids to ski, I was running a kids music center, and I had a kid. And so someone in my community was like, oh hell no, you're not going to be using weed all day and teaching kids to ski and teaching them, that is not how that's going to go down. And they reported me to Child Protective Services. And so they came knocking at my door, and I was like, yeah, here's my medical card, here's where I smoke, like here's where I keep it. And I openly admitted to using a controlled Schedule I substance in the presence of a minor, which in 2010 was not really awesome. And I got charged with child endangerment. And this was devastating because it was preventing me then from teaching kids and working with kids and providing for my kid. I was a single mom at the time. So I rose hell, and I went through this whole appeal process. It was 2 years. And I was really lucky in a lot of ways because they were medical, but they were going through to the recreational at that time. So the leniency in the laws and how they were looking at it in that 2-year probation, like kind of switched, right? So I was lucky in that sense. And then I was also, like I had a really good support team behind me that came forward and stepped up and was like, she's not abusing her child, she doesn't neglect her child, like, you know, I had my medical doctors writing, or, you know, I had like 10 different people write letters into the county and the judge and letting them know, like, I'm not this person. So that experience is really the true spark of like how I became a true advocate. Like, I was always, you know, loud about it, like, hey, cannabis is great and you can use it and da-da-da, but going through that experience really ignited the true spark of like, this has to change. I don't want my daughter to ever have to go through this, ever, right? I don't want her to ever feel like she's a bad mom because she's making an educated choice with her doctor to use a plant instead of pills. And so I just took that, and then I just kept having more and more experiences when we moved out here to Humboldt, and then I was pregnant again and again. You know, I would turn to the plant, consume cannabis during the pregnancy, and again, you know, I'm lucky. Like, I'm white, I'm a chick. Like, for some reason, I'm able to walk through, but the people behind me are getting punched and beat down, and their kids are getting taken away, and they're getting, you know, all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, this isn't right. Like, this has to change. And so then that just, you know, moved more into like founding the nonprofit, and then, you know, I mean, it just goes on and on from that. But for the advocacy side, like, what I would say is that to be an advocate, all you have to do is have a personal experience and share it and be confident and true in that. And then that will be your advocacy lane, right? So like, however you experience it, be authentic and share in that story. And that's your advocacy lane, right? And you can jump in on other people's and be like, yeah, I had a similar experience, but here was mine, right? And the more we have those conversations and share, I think the stronger and more powerful the advocates and the advocacy for what you're doing, the momentum and energy moves. Something
important that I think you just said was about having your personal experience and then sharing it, and that becoming advocacy.
Yeah.
The simplicity of that really resonates with me. And you know, there's really, you know, take the action.
Yeah.
Those early conversations that you were having with other mothers, what are some of the preconceived notions that they had? And, you know, I'm just very curious about those early conversations with other mothers that just didn't have a personal experience and were only working with what, you know, the education that they got.
So I will say that a lot has not changed in the 10 years, and it sort of is like a little depressing, but also like motivation, right? The conversations are, so I have changed actually a lot in those early conversations. So in the beginning, I felt like I had to, like convince them, right? And I had to, that I was doing something bad, but I needed to explain to them, like, no, it's actually not really that bad, and here's why. Or I would feel them out first and be like, so, like, what are you doing around 4 o'clock? Right? And if they're like, I mean, you know, you could figure it out, right? Or I'd be like, let me see your lighter. And if it had like black on the bottom, you know, like, I don't know, these are just like weird things that I would learn. But I was really timid and scared because I did not trust people, especially going through the CPS experience. Because I was just like telling people like, hey, you know, have you ever tried like cannabis for pain? Or if someone was saying it, I'd be like, yeah, I use it. I took edibles this morning, you know, and like, look, I'm fine, right? And I've learned that it's a balance, right? And so, also motherhood changed me. So like, I was still a first-time mom then. I'm like a 4-time mom now, right? And so my conversations and approach towards all of this is way different. I come from a place of like compassion and understanding versus like, I need to prove you wrong, or I need to like tell you something, right? I come from a different space now, and I say like, what are you feeling? You know, like, talk to me, right? Like, what's going on? And then like through those conversations, I can find ways to insert like a potential use for cannabis, instead of coming at them like, you should consider cannabis, and you know, like the energy switched from like I need to tell you, I want to share with you, from more of like, let me hear what you're feeling, and then I can like just maybe give you some guides, right? I don't know if that's really answering the question, but the conversations, like, I mean, I don't know what the other people that heard them would say, but for me, that's how it went. I went from being really forceful and aggressive and wanting to share all of the knowledge and the power and the beauty of the plant, from coming back into it and kind of letting them come and ask me. So now, like, people will come to me and ask me, like, at PTA meetings or drop-offs. They'll, like, come up on the side and be like, hey, I know you're the Canna mommy. I'm really curious about blah, 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 right? And so, like, and I put myself there as, like, I'm here. Like, I'm a tree. Come sit with me. Come under me. Let's learn, right? Instead of, you know, being a ball of fire and being like, I need, you know, I don't know. So that's, like, how I feel like the conversations have changed from, you know, my early days of advocacy to now. And I don't know if that's, like, has to do with the industry. Like, I don't know why all of it's changed, but that's how we got here.
I think that's important, though, to go from the, you know, more aggressive approach to one of a more, you know, controlled use of your resources.
I think a lot of it has to do from living here in Humboldt. So, like, when I first started all of this, I was in Colorado, right? And then my husband was out here cultivating. Not at the time, he was just my friend, but he's my husband now. And he really, like, brought me into the gardens, right? And when I mean gardens, I mean, if you guys have never been to Humboldt or anywhere up here, I really encourage you to get up here, because I have traveled the world and I have never been to a place like Humboldt. And I've been here almost 10 years, having a hard time articulating what that means. And it's really like an experience. You have to come and you have to drive in southern Humboldt. You have to go on the rickety road and go up through the gate and swift to the left and shimmy to the right and go down and go up, and then you're in the field of green. And when I say field of green, I'm talking like acres, okay? Like football field upon football field upon football field of like 12-foot big ass cannabis plants, right? Like, have you been there? Have you seen this? Yeah. So like that, you can't explain or put a price tag on. You can only experience. And it's when you come and you feel that, because it's energy, right? The plants are alive. So when you come and you see it at that scale and at that level, it changes you in ways that I don't think any of us can really even put words in. I mean, I think that we're all trying with our brands and, you know, how we're coming out, but truly, you have to experience it. And I will say that coming to Humboldt humbles you in a lot of ways. And I don't know if that was like the goal with the word, but it's true. Like, even just working on a farm will humble the shit out of you. It's hard work. And then you have like a whole different appreciation for the plant, for the use, just the whole cycle of it.
The magnitude of the area and the opportunity.
Yeah.
In that, you know, the only way to truly understand it is to get as involved as you can.
Yeah, live it.
Like, and if that only means you can just read about it. But like, I completely agree with, like, you know, spending time here, spending time on the farm with the plant. It's not just like humbling, it's like perspective shifting.
Life-changing, really. It does. I mean, and I'm, you know, any garden is like that too, right?
Right. Yeah. This is in defense and support of all farmers.
Yeah.
Cannabis just happens to be, you know, battleground zero right now. But
it's a really powerful plant, and it really has the potential. And I'm not just saying this in like a hippy dippy way, but I really truly believe it has the power to change the world. It has the power to help heal everyone. You know, I'm not like saying everyone needs to use cannabis, but I am saying that cannabis can heal everyone. I really do believe that.
Nobody should be barred from trying it.
It should be free to everybody.
If you want to grow it, it can be free to you.
Right. Well, I mean, I think like, you know, so like I'm always like a hardcore advocate too of like the home grow. Like I really think that I mean, I have grown a couple plants, not well. My joke at home is like my husband grows the plants, I grow the babies, but I do need to probably get back into the garden and try more. But the thing about Humboldt that is different, because like I've been to gardens in New York, I've been to gardens out in Michigan, I've been to gardens in Vermont. Like I think that there is an energy here that has been here before, like we were here, right? Like us people, humans, like, I mean, going back to like native time and there, and I think that that energy is captured because it doesn't go anywhere. Energy is not created or destroyed, right? And it's in here somewhere, and that translates either through the soil or the water. I mean, I know it translates through the water and the soil into the plants that then you consume into your body. So there's like a beautiful cycle and an energy transfer. And there are cultivators here that have been given the, what do you call it? Like skills, tool sets, like just the information, how to do that, right? How to have the fluid conversation between the light, the soil, and the plant to create that beautiful, amazing cannabis that's literally world renowned, right? And I think that it just is like, you know, people say like, oh, you know, without the Emerald Triangle, without Humboldt, like California will be fine and the weed game will beat on and da-da-da-da. And it's like, sure, okay, yeah, like we it's a plant, it's weed, like it'll grow wherever. But what they're not understanding is like, you want this weed, you want this energy, you want the soil, you want the water, you want to smoke it because it is powerful. So that's really like, you know, talk about advocacy. Now I'm on like that side of it too. It's like I really want to help free the plant in all of the ways, right? Like get rid of the like let's go across state borders, let's go international, like let's really, you know, full throttle it, because it's like we've been doing it already, right? That's how people know that Cali weed is good. It's not their indoor down in LA that they're smoking.
Who the hell says that the industry could go on without the Triangle or without Humboldt? What
there was
said
some
that?
lady on this like social media page that had responded to something that we were talking about. They were it was a conversation in regards to what was happening with Flo Canna.
Oh, well, fuck Flo Canna.
Right.
For the record and forever, fuck Flo Canna.
You said it, not me.
I stand by it. I'd make it out of their weed, but it's bullshit.
I'm gonna keep drinking this water. Yeah, so it was like a conversation and discussion around that, and I just piped in and said like, whatever's going on over there, the Emerald Triangle is like fighting, and if you want to help, come up here, come meet the farms, come meet the buyers, smoke some of the weed, understand the difference. Like, don't just like sit there and broker down spreadsheets to make it fit into your spreadsheets. Like, come up here. Right? If you're going to be in the industry, come be in the industry. You know, like, we're cool, we're friendly, we'll even probably light one for you.
What a silly concept of it, in a complete misunderstanding of the industry, the culture, and the plant. So
yeah, and you have to also understand too, like, these generations of farmers risked a lot to understand and cultivate and build the harmonious cycle with the plant, the sun, the soil, water, right? And instead of like honoring that and cherishing that and like looking to them for guidance and understanding, the corporate leaders, I believe, are not even understanding it because they've never come up here and seen it. So they're like they're trying to throw away something that they don't even understand. They don't even know. And they will never work. We're not going anywhere. But what I'm saying is that we're renegade up here, right? So like, again, generations of farmers that have figured it out, right? And so this is just a little, speed bump for some of us, right? Maybe, we took a left turn, we should have turned a right turn, but we are going to come right back, and we are resilient, just like the plant, and we're not going anywhere. There's too much at stake that they're not going to let it die. We won't. I won't.
Zeroing in on one or two things about the industry that you think need addressed immediately, that you wish consumers knew more about.
Are we talking like Cali specific or like the whole global? Because that is two different answers.
One and one.
Okay, so give one for one and one for one. Okay, at a global level, we need to figure out banking, for sure. Like, there has to be a way to, if you're gonna have an industry and a business, that means contracts, paperwork, and banking. So we have contracts, but the banking is a mess. And so if the industry even wants to be taken seriously on any level, it really needs to figure that out. Like, we're on NASDAQ, right? Like, you're on the stock exchange, but like, you can't even go get a bank account or a simple business loan, right? And so this doesn't even make sense. Like, how is that even possible? So that's one that needs to we need to figure that out, right? And that needs to have access to funding, right? So like, the banking isn't just like, I want to do banking. It's like, stop charging me so much to do the banking. How about you give me normal banking like you give every other industry, and you give me some freaking support. Like, let me get a small business loan, right? Like, you want to tax the crap out of us and take all of the money and then not even give us something to help you steal from us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, right? So banking, okay? And then in Cali specific, the number one thing I think the industry needs in Cali right now is to get rid of all of the regulations in regards to, like, they just need to get rid of distribution. Sorry, it needs to go away. Distribution needs to just not exist. And I think that would allow a lot more of the smaller brands to kind of come out, right? Because they don't have to go through because every time it's touched, it's taxed, right? So if they can like grow it and then just go direct to the retailer or direct to the consumer through the delivery model, right? That's 2 touches. It's like, it's got to go into a distributor, then it's got to go out to it's too much. And the distribution model is just it's not working. It's not effective. It needs to go. They need to just, and I don't really have like, I always try to tell my children, like, don't come to a problem unless you have a solution, right? And I've looked at the regulations over and over and over again, and I've talked, and it's like, we just need to remove the distribution. That's it.
Yeah,
cut it out.
That's the bottleneck. It's also the bloat.
Yeah. And
it's like a necessary evil that it was just done like because alcohol has it or something like that. And it doesn't make sense. And yeah, what do we do? Do we do a bill? Do we introduce some shit? Do we find the right pressure points? Like, cause I
don't think it's going to change. That's unfortunately like where it's getting frustrating, I mean,
why can't we just kill off distro and tell them we're not going to work with them?
Well, and it's like, or just everyone self-distro,
Yeah, which is I've seen a lot of people get to, or just a distro that's not going to do what they, all have decided.
Well, it doesn't make sense. There's not enough margin anyway, because there's so much tax, right? So then if you like, all right, so if the farmer grows a pound of weed and it's, beautiful, let's call it, AAA weed, and it's like dep or outdoor, you're going to want $1,000, right? For that, right? But in order to get that $1,000, there's so many people that have to pull out that the farmer's only getting like 500, 400 by the time everyone takes their little pieces off of the pie. It's like, because the distributor has to buy it at like $400 or $500, $600, and then they have to like mark it up to sell it to the brand, who's then going to mark it up to sell it to the customer, right? Before in Prop 215, you could just go direct to the customer, right? And you didn't have to have packaging. You didn't have to pay all the taxes. You didn't have to pay your cultivation tax. You didn't have to pay the state tax. And this is just pay to play, right? This is like, if your crop goes to shit for whatever reason, again, like, you don't have, like, well, they're working on it. You can get insured and stuff, but I mean, ask anyone who suffered a fire and lost all their genetics. Like, it's devastating, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's an uphill battle. And I think that if we can just, like, loosen up the regulations a little bit and, like, allow, like, commerce to go, right? Like, there's a lot of brands that could challenge some of the corporate brands if they were given a shot, right? Because they have great product, right? They have a consistent quality product, right? The experience, right? But they can't even get to the consumer because they can't get through all that bottleneck regulation crap. You know what I mean? And that sucks for us, the consumers, because there's so many amazing products that we could be experiencing that we're not. Simply because they don't want you to. They want you to buy their McDonald's weed. Sorry.
What's something that you've seen in the regulated industry that you're happy about lately?
I do really like this social equity pushes on it. I like that some states and some counties are really, like Virginia is a really good one, who is forefronting with social equity applicants. Like, I do think that that's good. I don't think there's enough of that, like, at all. But I do think that's good. Yeah, it's hard to, like, really like a lot of the regulations because they don't really feel like any different than the other way. You know, it's just like, now you have to pay them directly instead of, I don't know. What do I like about the regulations?
No, not the regulations, just that. What have you seen in the industry that's been positive? Like, what are some more inspiring things that are happening in weed lately?
I would say that the opportunity to have a more open and authentic conversation with people is better and easier now, because there's not the, like, oh, it's illegal, right? So all of that is, like, you can't stand on that platform anymore. So now you can have, like, intergenerational conversations better about the plant. I would say that people who were nervous to try cannabis because of that legalization, that fear of, like, destroying their ability to work or, having a criminal record, right, has allowed them to participate in ways that I don't think they would have if it hadn't become legal. So I would say that is a good benefit, right? We're able to reach more people in more ways. So yeah, I guess that would be a positive.
If you could get something out to consumers on their way into a dispensary prior to making a purchase, like, what would you like them to know about, the people that you're closest with and the products that they provide?
So I would say to anyone walking into a dispensary that you need to be able to have full transparency in the brand. So if you don't know where they sourced the flower, if you don't know how they processed at the lab, then I would not purchase that brand, period. And that might mean that you have to go out of that store and go into another store and find the stores that are really, there's stores out there. Humboldt Patient Resource Center is one I'll throw out there. They're known for providing that level of quality and service and products. They, like, won't even bring brands into their store unless they meet certain qualifications and they have that authenticity and transparency, because they want their patients that come into their store to know that they're getting the best quality medicine, right? Because to them, that's what it really is. And so I would say that that's important. And you need to push back on the brands for that, because if they're not understanding where they're getting their flower and who the farmer is and all of their supply chain, then why are they in the supply chain? Seriously. stop supporting them.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need to do, and just make sure that we're calling attention to the good players and the bad actors.
Yeah, I mean, your pocketbook is powerful, not just in cannabis, but money is a tool, right? And so use it wisely. When you're going in there, look for brands that have social equity, policy and programs in place, right? Where they're, Bloom Farms is a great one that does. I think it's Bloom Farm out of Mendo, right? That did the hunger. They do like a 1-for-1 for hunger. I'm pretty sure it was Bloom Farm. But there are brands that have made that a forefront of their business. I would also say look for female-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned. Like, go there first, right? Like, find a brand in those categories. There's gonna be quality stuff. Like, and I'm not knocking all the corporate players, you know. We all do need to get along in the sandbox, but your money is powerful, and so use it. Use your money, right? Be purposeful and mindful when you go in there. Don't just go in there and buy the brand that looks cute and has the highest THC for the lowest price. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. Full transparency. Know, like, from seed to sale. Know who the farmer was. Know who the lab was if you're buying, you know, concentrates. Like, it's important, you know? And hold the brands accountable.
Are there any resources like that available, like social equity locations or like?
So it's the city of San Francisco and the city of Oakland and the city of LA have like a website that you can go to that has all of the licenses that they've given out, and they have their social equity program like in print, like what they're doing and what they're planning to do. So you can like go and look at these websites and see like what their plans are and which one feels and resonates with you, and then go support it, right? So like some support hunger, some support, you know, minorities, some support people trying to get out of prison for being incarcerated for the same thing that we're trading on this New York Stock Exchange for. Like, really? Like, people are in prison still for the same thing that we're doing over here on the New York Stock Exchange. Like, how is that happening, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can support these things through your purchasing when you're going into the dispensary. So it just takes a little bit of education. Ask them. Ask the store. Hey, what are the brands you carry that support the veteran-owned farmers? That conversation. I'd love to be there for that conversation. But, you know, and there's a lot of stores that are coming online that are focused on that. Shout out to this girl, Whitney, down in LA. She just opened up Josephine and Billy's. It's a super cool dispensary focused on, you know, the like almost like the speakeasy times, right? So it's really cool vibe and feel. Check it out. You know, they're out there. You just have to find them, you know. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
I mean, it's not even really about answering questions. It's about getting good
content.
Yeah. Is that somebody should do a social equity? Like, just aggregate all of that information. Like, and make it super easy. And like, sell companies like a fucking ribbon that they can hang in their window if they have women-owned products and shit like that.
So, like, what...
I got a friend I'm gonna call to do that as soon as this is over.
Or just like, you know, we've talked about, Lindsay and I and some of the female generational farmers up here of like, okay, so what's happening is these corporate influx of cash are utilizing that to basically buy literally the shelf space. So they're like, we're gonna pay you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month, and I only want our brands on these shelves. And so, or they'll make contracts with the owners and say, okay, you know, like Stizzy, and I don't want to speak out of knowledge. This is information that I've just heard. So I've never I just want to always say like, I don't know if this is actually what Stizzy's doing because I've never talked to Stizzy's directly about it. But this is what I hear, right? That the cash influxed brands are doing that, and this is not uncommon. They do this in alcohol, like you see, like they in stores, it costs a lot to put the placement at the end of the rack, right? Like the generic brands go up here where the premium brands are here in the aisles. Like this is normal, right? And so they're taking that same concepts, corporate, and applying them in cannabis, right? And so as the consumer, we can always push back on that, though, you know, like you're saying, like go into the store and say, like, where's your women-owned brands that you have? That's a good one. Most of them don't have any.
My friend in Sonoma, she's a outdoor organic farmer, and we were walking Hall of Flowers together, and she went up to these brands that were like, oh, we're minority owned, and she's like, who's growing the flower? And they're like, oh, and she's like, it's probably a bunch of grows, huh? And they're like, we don't know. And she's like, so how are you going to call yourselves, you know, minority owned or women owned or support anything? You don't even know where you're buying your product from.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Full transparency. You've got to take it all the way back to the farm, because it's important. Like the weed is and the product is only as good as the farm and the farmer who grew it. Period. It's a plant, you know? It's a plant. It's also a very powerful plant.
It's still a being that requires energy and reflects that energy in the end.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very clear to see when you're experiencing triangle weed, humble weed specifically. Like, you know, going back to what you said about the energy, it's a lot of factors go into it.
Yeah.
And the continuous reinvestment into the land and into the plant and into the future generations by passing that knowledge down has compounding effects on the outcome. It's undeniable.
That's what I'm saying. And you can feel it. Like I said, like anyone who smoked some fire outdoor Cali weed knows, like, I want that again. Like you come to find it again, right? You seek it out. So now we just have to, like, you know, step into the true power, I think, and come out of the closet kind of in a way, right? And really full throttle it. And I mean, we have some work to do, right? And we really need to, like, you know, get it together, but we will. We're still potheads, you know? I was kidding. We're like Humboldt time. Everyone always jokes. So, you know, we'll get it together, you know, the next season or so. What?
That whole time frame that we're on, though, it may not necessarily be the best one, you know? Like a siesta is actually pretty fucking dope and efficient if you wake up at 7 and work until 1 and
like,
then
you're
get
up at
back.
5. Yeah.
Like, you know, that actually makes a lot of sense economically. So, you know, we've been doing things a little bit different, because the other thing in weed is, like, you know, what is it? It's Saturday today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's working. And if we weren't working down here, be up on the field working because it's harvest time. Like this idea of a 9 to 5 doesn't exist in this world, and it never will. And if all you're putting into it is 9 to 5, which is what these corporate guys do, even when they drop an 80-hour week like a stockbroker or some dumb shit, you're still not touching a farmer.
I'll tell you right now, I have seen some super mega corporate grows come online here in California, and I don't see their quality yet, because I don't think that they're gonna ever get there, because the plant reflects the energy that you go in, and that's it right there. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of energy are you wanting to put into your body?
Well,
do you want, like, fake lights, fake water, like, or do you want from, like, the earth that's been, like, loved over generation upon generation? Do you want the, like, natural water that we catch and that comes from the snow? Or do you want, you know, the filtered water that came through the whatever?
Give me that reverse osmosis shit all day.
Right. You know, like, it's a choice. Like I said, I mean, that it's out there for everyone to experience. So, you know, find some sun-grown cannabis from Humboldt County, experience it. Let me know what you think. I got like 5 minutes, I think.
Okay, cool. I was just going to finish it up with just words of advice to people who are on the outskirts of the industry.
Like, that want to get into it?
Yeah, that are
Don't.
looking that are looking for their place.
No. Okay, so I'm a little jaded, okay? So
You're allowed to be jaded.
I grow your own. Just grow enough for your own head stash. And then if you can grow your own garden for a while and you really feel called to like keep perfecting that, then I would say step into the corporate weed game. Is there a place for everyone here at the table? Sure. But it's business, right? So like, people are going to fail, right? It's inevitable. So don't just think because it's cannabis, like I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a lot of money. First of all, you're not going to make shit for the first 3 years. You're going to bleed millions of dollars. Hear me when I tell you that you will bleed millions of dollars. Okay? Like, facts. So if you don't have millions of dollars to bleed for the next 3 years, find something else to invest in. Seriously. And like, you can invest in other things, like find a farm that's about to die, invest in that, right? Or I don't know, so then the part of me is like, no, that's not true. There's room for everyone. Like if you want to do it, you can do it,
It's like music.
Yeah.
Like if there's enough good music, enough people can listen to it. But like just because you're making sounds doesn't mean that people are going to pay you to listen.
Right. Exactly. Like anyone can cook a sandwich or anyone can make a sandwich, right? But it's like, and people will eat the sandwich. Like someone will eat the sandwich you made, right? But it's like, how many people are going to stand in line and wait for that sandwich, right? You got to have something to offer. So I guess my advice is this: pick a lane, find something that is missing. Okay. One of two things. Find something that you're passionate about and pick a lane and follow that, right? Or find something that's missing in the industry and then fill it. So, for right now, right, here we go. Zero packaging on the market in Spanish, in Chinese, in any other language other than English. Zero packaging in another language. There you go, $1 million idea, go for it. I'm telling distributors all for 2 years, just take your same packaging, put it in Spanish and Chinese. I could sell the shit out of it in the fucking San Francisco area. And like nobody hears it, so find a hole in the industry and fill it. And if you're passionate, that's even better. But I mean, if you want to make money, find a hole and fill it. Like my dad always said, like the people who were rich in the gold rush out here weren't the people that hit big on the gold. It was the dude selling the shovels.
Everybody wants to be a rock star, not enough roadies.
Right.
You can have a lot of fun as a roadie.
But I mean, there is a place, you can find a place in this industry. There's enough room. I mean, we're just at the forefront. But like right now, I mean, it's like the David Goliath battle. So like, you got to come with something, right? Either knowledge.
I feel good about it.
What?
I feel good about us with our little piddly slingshot against that bitch ass Goliath.
I mean, who wins in the end? David, right? So like, yeah, exactly. Like, we'll get there. We just have to take a couple more bullets, learn a couple more lessons, and
perfect our kung fu.
Yeah, I think we just need to really step into our power. I think a lot of us got beat up. We took a lot of bullets. I think we trusted a lot of people that just because like of who we are and indicative of a community, we're just like a trusting place. And so I think that we weren't ready for that. Maybe I was ready because I grew up on the East Coast and
not
I was
ready
sharp.
for the assholes.
Yeah, but they weren't ready for the like just disingenuous like corporate greed, right? Like they truly felt like if I'm going to give you my pound and your platform is to support the small farmer, the estate grown, the sun grown, that you're really going to like hold true to that and you're going to give me back that value that you're out there marketing and making money off of me on, not come back and give me $400 or $500 for my pound that you just took my story. You know what I'm sure you can hear who I'm talking about, right? But and this isn't just one person. There's a lot of companies that did that. They picked up on that story of Humble and us, and they exploited us to market their companies. And I think that Humble took a little punch to the face on that, but make no mistake, we're coming back. Like we just know, we know better now, so we will do better.
Sweet.
Cool,
I think that's
guys.
a
Thank
perfect
you.
way to wrap it.